Welcome. Myself, Professor Pars Indrosa. I will be taking your subject that is design of structures. And in today's session, we'll be just starting with a brief introduction about what is design and how we will be proceeding further in this subject that is design of structures. So basically, this subject is a core subject in your current semester, and I will be taking this subject in your current semester. So basically, design that means our structural design. It is not basically the architectural design that you are all aware about. This design means to design the components, or you can say to design the structural components. So basically, first we will be knowing that what are the structural components. So the load transfer phenomenon or the load transfer phenomenon of a building is basically divided upon the structural elements. So if we consider a normal conventional building, then the load starts from the top portion, that is load X on the slab, and then it transfers the load to beam, and from beam it gets transferred to column, and from column again it's transferred to the foundation. So these are the basic structural members that are basically helping in our load transfer phenomenon. So we will be designing these elements. These elements can be made up of two parts, that is they can be formed from RCC, that is reinforced cement concrete, and also this can be made from steel. So this basically our whole chapter, or you can say our whole syllabus is divided into two parts. The first part being the RCC and the second part will be the steel portion. Today we'll be starting with the basic introduction about what are the basic criteria that we will be looking upon. So we'll be looking upon first, our RCC portion is divided into these criteria, that is we need to refer the code. These codes are prescribed by the Indian standards and they are legalized and standardized. So wherever the location may be in our country, the same technical specifications are being used to design an element. And for that, for RCC portion, we will be referring this code, that is IS 456-2000. And it is divided into three parts, that is our beams. Beams is again divided into our portion, that is development length and shear reinforcement. Then the second structural member will be the columns. Then we'll be moving on to footings and slabs. So these are the basic structural members that we will be designing in the part RCC. Now as we move forward, our beams portion will be again divided into three criteria or three subtopics. As per syllabus, you can also say that it is divided into three chapters, that is singly beams, doubly beams, and our flange beams. Moving forward, footing again is divided into two parts, that is foundation. The first one being the isolated footing and the second one being the combined footing. And lastly, the slab portion will be divided into two parts, or you can say two chapters moving forward. The first one will be one-way slab and the second one will be our two-way slab. So these topics we will be covering in the portion that is RCC. According to GTU, the whole syllabus is divided into again two parts, that is RCC and steel, and the weightage for the same is 50% and 50%. So this was the 50% content of our entire syllabus. Now moving forward to the steel portion. The steel portion again we will be referring the IS code. IS code is allowed in your examination too. It is just a booklet having a technical specification and considering all the equations that we will be using upon. So moving forward, the topics that we'll be covering in IS 800-2007, that is connections, then we'll be moving forward to tension members, then compression members, and lastly we'll be seeing beam column joints. These are the structural members that are made up of steel that we will be designing later on. So now again moving forward, this again portion, that is connections, is divided into two parts, that is bolted connections and welded connections. So this is the overview of the entire our syllabus of design of structures that we will be discussing in this entire series. So moving forward, the first thing will be to categorize the loads. Up till now we have studied that loads can be classified as a live load, or dead load, and a impact load. You can say just a load. But up till now you have studied in your syllabus and previous semesters that load can be a point load, a UDL or UVL. From now on, from the design perspective, or you can say from the technical perspective, you will be dividing it into three main criteria, that is a vertical load, a horizontal load, and a longitudinal load. So vertical load again that acts in the vertical direction, It can be divided into three parts, that is dead load due to the self-weight of the building, the live load that we'll be considering later on, and the impact load, that is the sudden load is to be applied. And the second part, that is horizontal load, it is categorized into two parts, being the wind load and the earthquake load. For this semester, in the design purpose, wind load and earthquake load will not be calculated using the numerical problems. And the last will be the longitudinal loads, or you can say the moving loads. Yeah? And here the basic thing that you need to know is the specific criteria. So basic criteria for solving our sums in the later on chapters will be to identify the unit weight. So the unit weight of brick masonry will be 20 kilonewton per meter cube. This you need to remember it because we'll be using it in our sums as the numerical portion. And the second part will be the RCC, that is the unit weight of RCC. So the unit of weight of RCC will be 25 kilonewton per meter cube. This is not prescribed in either IS code or in your textbook. So you need to remember this. And then as we discussed about the loads, there are some load combinations given in your IS code. So basically we will go through the basic points that will be covering in your IS code in this session. So now from page number 68 of your IS 456-2000, from table number 18, here you can see that first column it is mentioned load combinations. The load combinations that we will be discussing upon. The first load combination is dead load plus IL, that is imposed load, or you can say live load. The basic version of the analysis or the design will be the calculation of dead load plus live load. We will be using that in the entire syllabus. Second is dead load plus wind load. We won't be using that for current semester. And the third is dead load plus live load plus wind load. Here you can see that a specific load or a major load is being missing. That is the earthquake load. Why so? Because for earthquake code they have prescribed a separate IS code, and for the earthquake design that is a huge phenomenon that you will be discussing in the next semesters. Okay? So moving forward, what is a design process? So a design process is basically divided into two parts, that is analysis and design. For analysis portion, this you have studied up till now. You have studied mechanics of solids and structural analysis 1. That was the basic fundas of designs. So if you need to know the design, you must be knowing the concepts or the basic fundas of mechanics of solids and structural analysis. So analysis you have already discussed that shear force, that is our SF, BM, that is a bending moment, and axial force and torsional moment. You already know how to calculate it and where it will be acting it. And design, from this semester onwards will be moving towards our design 2. The design means to identify the structural members. We have already discussed that what are structural members in a conventional RCC building. Now our entire design, again as I said, will be classified into two parts, being the functional design and the structural design. If you take a look at the brochure of a newly constructed building, or you can say a newly constructed complex, etc., they provide brochures, and in that brochures you see the plan of the building, plan of the room, etc., etc. So that is the functional design that is being made by the architect. Okay? Structural design is very different to what we have seen up till now. Structural design is for the contractors and for the construction workers, that how to design or how to construct the building. It specified technical terms such as dimensions, what material to use, where to place, etc. So that design or that plan is called structural design. Clear? Structural design is being handled by the structural engineer, whereas functional design is being handled by the architect. So both are providing equal opportunities and equal part in the construction of a building. So moving forward, we will be discussing our first theory, that is design philosophy. This design philosophy can be asked in the RCC portion too or in the steel portion too. For both the cases, the answers will be same. So basically, what is meant by design philosophy? That means the methods of design the design can be conducted or can be done from how many methods. So basically, according to our IS code, there are three basic methods that we'll be discussing upon. The first one is limit state method that we'll be looking upon in the entire syllabus. The second is working stress method that is obsolete now. Up till 2000 we were using this working stress method, and after 2000 we have been using the limit state method. Yeah? And now the third and last one will be the ultimate load method. Now basically, what are the differences between these three cases, that is limit state method, working stress method, and ultimate load method. So first we will be looking upon limit state method. As you can see here, that this method is based on the concept of safety and serviceability, that the construction or the building that is to be used should fulfill the criteria of its building. That means if the building is used for residential purpose, the main focus will be to make it serviceable for the residents to live it in. Yeah? And then it is said that the limit state is a condition just below collapse. Before collapsing, if it gives a specific condition or a criteria that we know that now the building will be degrading or it will be starting to collapse, that condition is called limit state design. We will be designing to that point, not to the extreme point. So a structural design by limit state should give proper strength and serviceability throughout its entire life. Design life of a building depends upon the material used and the purpose of the building. For example, if we say the residential building, a normal design life of a residential building will be up to 50 to 70 years. So it is basically divided into again two parts, that is limit state of collapse and limit state of serviceability. So from your IS code, you can see here that from page number 67, section number 5, it is structural design. It is from the limit state method. So these are the basic criteria that you need to know about limit state method. So limit state method means if a load X is acting on a building or on a member. So if we design the load according to that X load, or if we design the structure component according to that X load, then it will be called a working stress method. That means a working load method. If we are designing according to the load that is actually acting on the building, then it is called a working stress method. But during its entire lifespan, let us say 50 years, if during the entire lifespan, if the load increases or if the load decreases, then the functionality of the building changes. So for that case, we are using a term that is called factor of safety. So if a load X is applied on a component or a structural member, then what we are doing, we are multiplying it by the factor of safety. Let us say factor of safety being 1.5. So the final load that we will be using it and the design purpose will be 1.5x. So this factor of safety is introduced, and now the design that is being done is called a limit state design. Clear? So this is the basic difference between a limit state design and a working stress design. Now we will be moving on to the pages that we will be referring on. For limit state of collapse, the assumptions are mentioned in the IS code itself. So you can directly in your examination write the answers from the IS code directly. Yeah, but you need to just change the statements of it. And limit state of serviceability is given in your page number 37 and 46. Same way, limit state of shear is being provided on page number 72 of the IS code. Now, these cases, these are the assumptions that we will be using in the theory. As you can see here from clause number 38. Clause number 38 says limit state of collapse fracture, and clause number 38.1 refers to assumptions. There are totally assumptions, that is 6 assumptions being mentioned, and each and every assumption provides a vital role in the design purposes. In the first chapter itself, we will be using the code that is our IS code, and from that we will be equating or we will be solving the equations, that how we obtain the equation using these assumptions. Then this is the permissible stresses in concrete. So if you want to know that what grade of concretes are being used in the design processes, then you can move forward to table number 21. It is mentioned that from M10 concrete to M50 concrete it will be used. And for that, the permissible stresses values are being prescribed in your IES code. Then what do you mean by ultimate load method? There were total 3 methods that we'll be discussing upon. The first method was limit state method, the second was working stress method, and the third and the remaining portion is the ultimate load method. As the name itself suggests, that ultimate load. So what does it mean? It means that to design the maximum load that it can carry. If we take that load and we design our elements according to that load, then this is called a ultimate load method. For that, we will take an example of a stress strain curve of steel. Where we can say that there are various points. O is the origin point, A is the proportional limit. Up to point A, stress will be directly proportional to strain. So up to A, if we are selecting any load and designing, then it is called a working stress method. Point B is called the upper yield point. Point C is called the lower yield point. So if we take a load, a value of load between A to C and then design, then it is called a limit state method that we will be taking in this entire semester. And D point is called the ultimate stress point. That means the maximum stress that the material can carry is called ultimate stress point, and after that point the material will be starting to fail, that is the rupture will be occurring. So up to its maximum extent the building or the member can satisfy its purpose is called the ultimate load. So if we take this load and design accordingly, then it will be called the ultimate load method. But as we increase loads, the dimensions of the building also increases and the material also consumed also increases. So it directly affects the economic of the building. Okay? So this design, that is ultimate load method, is only used if we want such structures where cracking is not allowed. And cracking is not allowed, it will be used in the structures such as dams, nuclear plants, etc. So the special structures design can be done using this method, that is ultimate load method. For residential building, this method can be useful, but it will be very costly. So we will be not preferring for residential, for commercial, for normal buildings, industrial buildings, we always use limit state method. Yeah? So this was our introductory portion, and from the next session onwards, we'll be starting with our RCC portion, and we'll be starting with our first topic, that will be beams. Thank you.